Talk some materials before we get into our actual pattern. So for this one, I used 3 different colors. Don't mind my very messy cake here. I've been using a lot of this cafe brown lately. So I used these 3 colors. The brown is for the pit, the lighter green is for the fleshy part of our avocado, and the darker green is going to be for our rind. We will need some scissors. Scissors are a must so we can cut the excess yarn. You will need a yarn needle, and this for obvious reasons, just so that we can stitch our work together. There will be 3 pieces total. We will need our yarn needle to stitch those 3 pieces together. We can't do any of this without our crochet hook. I am using a 3.5. As I mentioned in one of my other videos, if you want your work to be bigger or smaller, you can definitely play with the size of your hook. If you want your work to be bigger, you can go a size up or half size up to maybe a 4 or 4.5. If you want to go down, it'll make your work just a little bit tighter. Just keep in mind the yarn that you're using. I'm using a worsted yarn, so like a size 7 hook wouldn't work because the holes will be too big. So just kind of keep that kind of thing in mind. You will need stitch markers. Again, mine are always on my brace. I'm going to use that. And finally, you will need some polyfill, quite a bit of polyfill. I stuffed my avocado pretty firmly, so you will need quite a bit of that. And I think that's it. So let's go ahead and get into our pattern. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with the lighter center part of our avocado. So let's do a magic circle, and we're going to put 6 single crochets inside of our magic circle. And I'm so sorry for these band-aids, y'all. My eczema is doing something crazy, and the crochet hook actually hurts right now. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we are going to find a crochet marker. A stitch marker. We're going to put that guy in there, green for our avocado. And we're going to do an increase all the way around. Pull my magic circle a little bit more tight. So pull that just a little bit, and we are doing 2 single crochets in each stitch. And these band-aids are so hard to work with. So 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around, and I'll show you what it looks like a couple of times, and then I'll leave you to your own devices. So just 2 single crochets in each stitch. So go ahead and do that all the way around on each back. Okay, so for row number 3, we are doing 1 single crochet and then an increase. So for rows 3 through 7, we are doing a series of increases. So that was 1 single crochet, and this is our increase. That was not an increase. I don't know what that was. There we go. So 1 single crochet and then an increase, and we're doing that all the way around. 1 single crochet and then an increase. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back. Row number 4 is going to be 2 single crochet and then an increase. So again, we're doing our series of increases. So that's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then an increase. 1, 2, all the way around. Row number 5 is 3 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. So 2 single crochets in that same stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then an increase all the way around. Row number 6 is going to be 4 single crochets and then an increase. 2, 3, 4, and then increase. And we are doing that all the way around. Okay, and row number 7 is going to be our final row of increases, and this is going to be 5 single crochets and then an increase. And basically what we're doing is the center of that avocado, we want the circle to be fairly big, so we needed to do a series of increases. So this is 5, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then increase. So 1 and 2 in that same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an increase. And we're doing that all the way around. Okay, so we are done with our increases. We did a total of 5 rows of increases. And so row number 8 is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So literally just 1 in each stitch. In theory, you should have 42 stitches. So go ahead and count and then meet me back here once you're done. All right, so this is what we're looking like so far. And we are going to go row number 9, which is 10 single crochets. We're going to chain 1 and then turn our work. So let's do that one together. So 10 single crochets, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to chain 1, turn our work. Okay, so for row number 10, what we are doing is 8 single crochets, 8 half double crochets, 8 half double crochets. That's 1, starting in that first stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you should have 2 stitches remaining. 1 and 2. We're going to do a half double crochet decrease, and we don't need our stitch markers anymore. You can if you want, but I just know the end of the row because now we're going in a from side to side instead of in the round. So we're going to do our half double crochet decrease. And we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to do 7 half double crochets this time, starting in that first stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And you should have 2 stitches remaining. And in fact we do. 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and do our half double crochet decrease. The last one is kind of hard to get into, but nonetheless we got to get in there. Chain 1, turn our work. Now we're doing 6 half double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 6. And it kind of only looks like 1 stitch is left, but if you look on the top, there's actually 2, okay? So just kind of be cognizant of that. So go ahead and do our half double crochet, decrease, chain 1, turn our work. Row number 12 is 5 half double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our half double crochet decrease. Chain 1. Doing 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and our half double crochet decrease. Chain 1. This is our final row of half double crochets and decreases. So we're going to do 3. 1, 2, 3, and our decrease. Half double crochet decrease. Okay, so what we're doing now is we are going to single crochet all the way around. It's just going to make this work look a little bit less choppy. What I like to do is to still chain 1, just because it makes the transition from those half double crochets to that single crochet a little bit more seamless, but you don't have to. That's definitely optional. So row number 15 is just 1 single crochet around the entire piece. I'll probably do a time lapse on this just so you see how I do mine, but feel free, if you know what you're doing, just go ahead and fast forward through so we can go to the next part. Alright, now that our inner part is done, let's go ahead and do our darker green outside. So for this one, rows 1 through 7 is going to be exactly the same. So we're going to start with our single crochet, our magic circle with 6 single crochets in the inside, do a row of increases, and then start to increase 1 through 5 for rows 1 through 7. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here for row number 8. All right, so this is what we're looking like after rows 1 through 7. Remember, the rows 1 through 7 is the same as the interior for the light green. For the darker green outside of the avocado, it's always, if you look at a real avocado, it's a bit bigger than the interior. Because it's kind of the rind that covers the avocado itself. So we're going to make this one a little bit bigger. So we're going to extend our increases by 2 rows. So in this row, row number 8, we are going to do 6 single crochets and then an increase. So same concept as before. We're going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then an increase. And you're doing that all the way around. Again, same concept as we did prior. We're just making it just a little bit bigger. So it's 4, 5, 6, and then an increase. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you back. Row number 9 is going to be 7 single crochets and then an increase. Remember, we're doing those 2 additional rows of increases. Same concept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then an increase, and we're just doing that all the way around. And this is what I'm looking like after row number 9. So row number 10 is going to be 1 single crochet in each, and you should end up in theory with 54 stitches. So go ahead and do that and meet me back here. 1 single crochet in each stitch. Okay, here comes the fun part. So row number 11, we are going to do 12 single crochets, chain 1, and then turn. Same concept as with our lighter color. So 1, and we'll do all these together. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Chain 1, turn our work. We are doing 10 half double crochets, chain, and a decrease. So start in the first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you should have 2 stitches left. I kept my stitch marker in there just so I'm sure that there's 2 stitches. And we don't need that anymore. So let's go ahead and do our half double crochet decrease. You can hear my dog calling to high heaven. She is getting some good sleep in. Alright, so we are going to turn our work for row number 13. We are going to do 9 half double crochet starting in that first stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And remember, it looks like there's only 1 stitch left, but when you look on the top view, there's actually 2 stitches that we can work into. So that's 1, and then our second. Remember, that second one is a little bit tough to get into, but it's not impossible. Ooh, and that hurt my finger. All right, so we are at row number 14, I do believe. So this is 8 half double crochet starting in that first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to do our half double crochet decrease. Work into that last one. Turn our work. 7 this time. So 1, 2, 6 this time around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do our decrease. And this is our final row of half double crochets and decreases, and we're going to do 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our decrease. And just like we did for our final row of the interior of the lighter color, we're going to, I chain one, just like I said before, it's a little easier for me to add those single crochets, but we're going to single crochet all the way around just to make it a little bit, like I said before, less choppy, a little bit more seamless. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here to actually do our pit. Alright, I'm doing the final stitch of my single crochets all the way around, and I just wanted to show you all that I'm not going to cut my tail. I'm not fastening off and I'm not cutting the tail because I want to use this working yarn to attach the darker piece, the rind, to the lighter piece later. But first we need to do the pit. So go ahead and leave this attached to your working yarn. You can just kind of extend the loop like that so it's big and it notches and you notice it when you want to go back to it. But this is what mine looks like right now. I'm going to set it aside and we are going to work on the pit. Okay, so for the pit we are starting with a magic circle, and in that magic circle we are doing 6 single crochets. Man, these band-aids are really messing with my groove right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, next we are going to do an increase all the way around. Once I tighten my circle. All right, so 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. You should end up with 12. Row number 3 is going to be 1 single crochet and then an increase. So 1 single crochet and then an increase, very similar to what we did before. Sleep. She is like knocked out. All right, go ahead and do that all the way around. Row number 4 is going to be 2 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, and then an increase. 1, 2, and then an increase. And the final row for our pit, row number 5, is just 1 single crochet in each stitch. Alright, and we are actually done with crocheting, so we can fasten this guy off. So I'm going to cut a pretty long tail, and I'm going to fasten this guy off. The next step in this process is we do want all these things to stack together, right? But the way we put them together, the order, it does matter. So what we want to do first is the pit. We want to attach the pit to the lighter part of our avocado. So behind the scenes, I was just kind of threading my yarn needle. We're gonna hold this guy in place. Try to match the magic circles as much as possible. It doesn't have to be exact at all. Just try to get that magic circle in the centermost part of your avocado. You're gonna take your yarn needle and you're just gonna stitch all the way around. And the reason I say it matters, the order, because this process becomes increasingly difficult if you attach that green part to the darker green or a rind. It just becomes a little bit more difficult. So doing it this way, you have the freedom of having access to the back of the lighter part of our avocado. If you're watching this part a little bit late, you kind of got ahead of yourself, it's okay. It's not impossible to attach our pit, but it's a little bit more difficult. And yeah, if you've been following my videos, the easier the better for me. So let's go ahead and do this. When you get to close, I would say like 5 stitches or so from being done, stop, put the needle down for a second, go ahead and stuff your pit, and then continue closing that hole up. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually finish doing mine, and I will see you back once mine is done and stuffed and I close my hole up. Alright, so this is what mine looks like when it's all stuffed and closed. Another reason why we want to make sure we do this guy first, attach the pit to the green parts, because we do not want that on our finished product. Look at that. That stitching is not a good look, y'all. That's not cute. So go ahead and make sure you attach your pit to the green part and not to our rind. Alright, so I am going to make a couple of knots and hide this guy in my work, and then we are going to start attaching our fleshy part, the light green part of our avocado, to the rind, which is our green part. And for the tail of our pit, this brown yarn that I'm working with right now, you don't have to worry about cutting it. Honestly, we can just stuff it inside once we have everything attached, so don't worry about it. Okay, so this is what we're looking like so far. We have our 3 pieces, 2 of them are already attached. Now we just need to put this guy on top of this guy and then attach them. So we still have our rind, the darker part of our project, attached to that working yarn, because remember I told you not to cut it off. So what we need to do now is, my project is right side facing up right now, which means that the side of our project that people are going to see is facing up. What I want to do is actually put the wrong sides together. So wrong sides just mean the inside of my work I want to put together, sandwich it like that. If you want to use pins, you can. I just tend to poke myself, and I'm already, you know, a little damaged right now. So what I like to do here is just line up the tops, because our working yarn is here. We're going to line up the tops as best you can, and we are going to single crochet all the way around. Now, this is a bit of a tricky part, because the green part, the flesh, is actually bigger than our lighter piece, and that was done on purpose, remember, because the rind is usually a little bit bigger. So we have to get a little bit creative in how we keep this symmetrical, but it's not impossible. Just follow along with me and we will make it happen. So for this guy, we are just gonna attach. I'm gonna go through this way. We're gonna just go ahead and do some single crochets. Pulling that taut. Single crochets, just match the work up as best you can. Again, the green part is bigger, but just do your best. The top shouldn't be too bad, honestly. The top and the side shouldn't be too bad for you. It's that circle at the bottom that's gonna trip you up. And I will not time lapse too much so I can show you how to get around that. For this tail, the tail for our green, our light green, I'm just gonna tuck it under. And that way it's out of our way and we can stuff it in the center once we're done. Alright, so let's just try our best to do a one-to-one. Picking up one stitch from our lighter green and one stitch excuse me, from our darker green. Again, the top and the side shouldn't be too bad for you. They should fairly meet the one-to-one. I've done this pattern a couple of times and the top and the sides rarely give me issue. It's, again, that circular part at the bottom that's the pain in the butt. Okay, let me do this. This one here. Actually, I think it's 2 more. Yeah, I think this is. There we go. Okay, so you see where we are right now. See how much bigger that guy is? So to circumvent this, the workaround that we're going to use is how at the top we did a one-to-one. We picked up one stitch from our light green and one stitch from our dark green. For a good 3/4 of the way across our circle to about right here, there's no exact science to this, about 3/4 of the way, we are going to do as follows. We are going to pick up 1-to-1 2 times. So pick up the light green and the dark green twice, 1 and 2. For that third stitch, you are only going to single crochet in the dark green, because our dark green is bigger than our lighter green. So then we're going to pick up our light green, match it to a dark green. That's 1. Pick up a light green, match it to our dark green. That's a 2. Now we're just going to pick up our dark green. So just repeat that. So dark green, light green twice. That's once. That's twice. And then we're going for only the dark green. And we're repeating that again about 3/4 of the way. You'll know you've done enough when you start to notice that the 1-to-1 matches again. And for me, that's usually about 3/4 of the way. And again, we're doing this as a workaround to make our avocado match all the way around. So let me actually go ahead and do this off camera, and I'll show you when it starts to match up for me, so you know what you're looking for. Okay, so what I've done here is I've used a stitch marker and I've attached where I want that other little bend part to be on my avocado, because I wanted to make sure that these stitches right here match up. Remember, we didn't have an issue too much with the size, so I wanted that to be, you know, kept as it is. But what I was talking about before is you want to do the 2-to-1 single crochets until your stitches start to match up. And you can see now, if you actually look really closely, you can see that the light green matches up with the dark green. And so I don't need to do the 2 stitches with both of them and the single one with the dark anymore. I can just go for a 1-to-1. I can just go in and I can pull up the light green and the dark green for the rest of my work. And I can do that all the way until I finish, which is what I'm gonna do, and I'll meet you back here once I'm done. And I actually forgot to mention before I cut my camera off, make sure you leave a small hole so that you can sew your, so you can stuff and then sew your work after. Alright, this is what my final project looks like. Super, super cute. I have a little straggly yarn here. It's bugging me. But this is what mine looks like. It is really cute. Again, if you follow my videos, if you've liked, if you subscribed, if you watched them before, you know at the end of every video I like to give you some inspiration as to how you can change this to make it your own. If you're a vendor and a small business owner, you can, you know, definitely sell these at vendor fairs and such. Just credit me as the pattern creator. What you could do is add eyes to this guy, eyes and a mouth. Actually, I would have to glue it though, just because I didn't think about that ahead of time. But anyway, you can add eyes and a mouth. You can definitely add some arms and make it a amigurumi character. Actually, what I did is I made a second half, and this time I didn't put the pit, so that it can be like two sides of a half, two sides of a whole, excuse me. You can also add eyes to this one, sell them together as a pair. That's super cute. You can change the colors. You could maybe play around with it, make it a little bit more of a ripe avocado versus a, you know, a fully green one. Those are just some fun ideas, but this guy was super fun. I hope you had a good time. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Comment if you enjoyed this, or if you have some things in mind that maybe I didn't mention that folks could benefit from. But I appreciate you staying with me, especially if you watched the whole video. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to crochet some cool stuff this week, and meet me back here next week for another pattern tutorial. Bye guys.